Next is going to be our bypass assembly. Now, the bypass assembly is going to be removed for a few reasons. One, we are looking at our computer, but it's not counting the water. We've already know that the sensor wire is okay, because the way we figured that out is by plugging it into the computer and removing the sensor wire. It's real simple to do. There's a little screw that holds this sensor wire in, but then the sensor wire just slides out. The sensor wire goes inside and butts up against this little turbine. But the way we know that the sensor wire is working is we plug it into the computer and we get a magnet. We touch it, and if the computer's showing a flow rate, then you know it's working. See, the way this works is the wire goes into the valve body, and when the water goes out, it hits this turbine and it turns. It's like hitting air on a fan, turning this little fan. And this little fan has a little magnet on it, so every time it turns, it just, and ever so many revolutions of that turbine equals a certain amount of water. So that's how the computer counts the water. And so when you use 1,000 gallons of water, depending on how it's programmed, it will trigger a backwash cycle in the middle of the night. That's how we meter it. So it's a sensor wire. So anyways, that sensor wire is up against that turbine. Sometimes that turbine will get old and it will need to be replaced, or something's stuck in that turbine. So you're going to have to remove this to get to the turbine. And to do that, we have 4 screws. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We've already removed those earlier, but it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will come off. Now, whenever you want to remove the bypass valve assembly, you're going to have to shut the water supply off to the house. I could push this off right now if I wanted to with it connected to the pipes. I could do that. But there's O-rings in there, and trying to get it back on, we found with experience, you want to try to take the easy way of just keeping the water in bypass and taking it off and back on. It doesn't seal right, and so it always leaks. This O-rings and that part just doesn't come together for whatever reason. So get yourself a pair of pliers, and you want to just untighten these black nuts. Officially in your book, this would be called pigtails. So it's real simple to remove this. Again, make sure your water supply is off to the house so things don't get crazy. So whenever we're going to remove the bypass assembly, we want to make sure the water supply is off, and we want to make sure that these pipes are disconnected. Okay, so now we can remove this just by pulling it off these O-rings. Now, these O-rings are notorious for leaking, so you can come out to your house and you'll see on the floor what this one is doing. The reason why I started this video was just that reason. These O-rings were bad. They were leaking. So I had to replace these O-rings. And so here we go. So the O-rings are there. They'll come out inside here sometimes. But these O-rings just go right on this little lip right here. So when you get new O-rings, just make sure you take them and you put them right there. Inside here is that little turbine that we were talking about. Looks like that. Got a little magnet on it. And that sensor wire goes right inside there. Has a little pin right there. So we really don't want to work on all this. Again, it's just easy enough and affordable enough to order the part and replace the part itself. That is how we remove this and put it back on. There are also O-rings to this piping back here. So the nut has another O-ring, and that nut just pushes on that O-ring and presses it out. So the thing about the Hague WaterMax, yes, it's very easy to remove these parts and replace them. They're all held together like a lot of other systems with O-rings.